But it is the behavior that it facilitates, whether it is discriminatory pricing, dynamic pricing, where price.
Hello there. It is 3 o'clock on this Thursday, February 26th, and this is the afternoon shift. I'm Adam Lorenz. We're so happy to have you all along for the ride today on this Thursday. It's going to be a great show, and we are so excited to have our esteemed executive producer and our other producer, too, who's also esteemed as well, Grace Henry, Paul Milgate, joining me today. I think it's Paul today cutting in the booth. Paul, what do you say there?
Yeah, you're stuck with me.
I'm not stuck with you. Yeah. We're happy to have you on board, both you and Grace.
That's good. But well, I'm excited for your almost birthday.
You know, I wasn't even going to bring this up, but now
you're very modest.
Yeah,
very humble, very modest.
Very modest. Very modest.
For those of you that don't know, Adam is born on Leap Day.
Yes.
So this year he doesn't technically get a birthday.
That's right.
But this weekend he will be celebrating kind of a birthday. Your 8.5 birthday.
8.5. It's been a good ride. 34 years, 8.5 years old. We'll get another leap year in 2028. Every summer Olympic year is a leap year. Every year divisible by 4 is a leap year. So yeah, February 29th.
So summer games and your birthday are all in the same year.
That's right. And the summer games just happen to be in the city where I breathed my first breath on that February 29th, 1992, Los Angeles, California. No, it's so great. Leap Day, the most unique day that you could possibly be born on. I think the chances are 1 in 1,461. It's basically 0.06% chance of being born on February 29th. Only once every 4 years. But you know what? In the non-leap years, we still have to celebrate. I'm a February guy. So we do it on February 28th. So Saturday is the big day.
So Saturday's the big day this year.
Saturday's the big day. Yes. Yeah. But I'll still get text messages on both days. I'll get text messages on Saturday, and I'll get text messages on Sunday, March 1st too. And I do know there are a couple of Leap Day people that I have met, and they like to celebrate on March 1st, and I've always thought that's kind of different. But hey, listen, to each their own. You get to kind of choose whatever day that you want, and I've kind of chosen to align myself with the best month of the year and the most unique month of the year, February, the only month that doesn't have 30 days. So.
Have you ever seen the episode of 30 Rock with? It's like the whole episode is called Leap Day.
I have not.
It's brilliant. It's all about this holiday that they invented called Leap Day, and there's all these weird traditions, including Leap Day William, who lives in the Mariana Trench and only comes up every 4 years and gives candy to babies that are crying. It's actually really funny, and then they even spoof sort of one of those like Hallmark holiday movies in it.
Yeah.
And it has Jim Carrey and Andy McDowell in it, so it feels like the sort of Hallmark movie you would actually see. It's brilliant. If you've never seen it, you should do it. In case you didn't know, the colours of Leap Day are royal blue and yellow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that's only in this show, this fictional episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
The unofficial mascot of Leap Day is a frog.
Or Leap Day William, if you follow 30 Rock. You subscribe to the 30 Rock version.
Yeah, there you go. I've always loved frogs because of Leap Day. So.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but blue and yellow, there it is. And happy Leap Day to any of them, my fellow leapers that are out there celebrating this weekend. So happy to have virtually met you. Paul and I, we got to meet another Leap Day baby at the esteemed Cretin-Derham Hall High School last year. Ilse, I was the first person that she had ever met that was born on a Leap Day. We did a little story on her and how you celebrate in the non-leap years. So shout out to you too, Ilse.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Happy almost birthday.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And we're celebrating this birthday with an absolutely jam-packed show here on the afternoon shift. So excited to bring this to you all. Let's just go through what we're going to talk about today. Rob Olson, Fox 9 anchor, will be joining me after this first commercial break to talk about yesterday's Medicaid announcement. You saw it. We aired it in its entirety right here on the afternoon shift with Vice President J.D. Vance and Dr. Mehmet Oz. saying that they were going to be withholding Medicare funds from the state of Minnesota. We're going to be having Rob tell us more about that. Then after that, Hennepin County Sheriff Dawanna Witt. So excited to bring her on. We're bringing her on to continue our celebrations for Black History Month. She is the first Black sheriff in Hennepin County history. She's also the first woman sheriff in Hennepin County history, and she's the first Black woman sheriff in Minnesota state history. So excited to talk to Dawanna Witt about all of those first, plus a lot of current event issues that her office is experiencing right now as well. Should be tremendous with her. Then after that, we're going to do a little sports talk with Don Mitchell. The Minnesota Wild are back in action tonight. In action tonight after the Olympic break. They are in Colorado. The Colorado Avalanche, the best team in the NHL. The Minnesota Frost of the PWHL, they're back in action on Sunday. And Kevin O'Connell had some words to say about the Vikings quarterback situation and his relationship with the now fired GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah at the NFL Combine out there in Indianapolis. Don has the latest on all of that. Then as we get into the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to be getting Governor Walz's response to Vice President J.D. Vance and Dr. Mehmet Oz from what they said yesterday. We'll be airing that press conference, which happened earlier today, in its entirety. And then I'm so excited about this one, too. America, we are celebrating our 250th birthday. I'm 8.5. America is 250 this year. And there is a whole committee called America 250 that has been putting on celebrations happening year-round. We're going to be talking to the chair of that committee, and also the former treasurer of the United States of America, appointed under President Barack Obama. President Joe Biden appointed her as chair of America 250. Her name is Rosie Rios. She will be joining us as well. So excited to talk to Miss Rios. And then after that, the biggest sports event happening in the land of 10,000 lakes tonight is at 8 o'clock on the beautiful campus of the University of St. Thomas, where they will welcome in the North Dakota State Bison onto campus. This is a huge game at the brand new Lee and Penny Anderson Arena. This is number 1 and number 2 in the Summit League. And if you can't make it to the game tonight, you can watch it right here on Fox 9 Plus beginning at 8 o'clock. We're going to be talking to the voice of Tommy's basketball at 4:40 to preview tonight's game. So all of that happening here on the afternoon shift today. But before we get into any of that, let's get into some headlines, and we are going to do a little unique spin on headlines today. I'm going to throw it to my good friend Lauren Andrago, better known as LA, with the traffic report in Minnesota this weekend, namely I-394. Be on the lookout if you use that every single day. Lauren has the latest. Let's roll in what Lauren has to say.
Road construction season is back. There's a couple of projects I want to let you know about as we head into the weekend, starting with 394 headed into downtown Minneapolis. This one's been backing up for the last couple of days. Week 1 of road construction, they are repaving the westbound lanes, which are now closed. Westbound traffic is moving in the HOV lanes, and this eastbound traffic has really been backing up because all of our ramps in and out of downtown are closed from 394 and around 94. And here's what's happening this weekend. 394 going to shut down in both directions starting 10 p.m. on Friday night until 5 a.m. Monday morning. This is so they can remove the bridge deck at Penn Avenue and work more on some of those other bridges and ramps. They're working on 34 of them between Highway 100 and downtown Minneapolis. The detour here pretty lengthy. You're going to take 94, 694 through Brooklyn Park, and then Highway 169. Remember, Highway 100 will be open, but all of the ramps between 100 and 394 will be shut down, so you won't be able to access 394 by then. After that, construction continues on 394. We're going to continue seeing ramp closures, bridge closures, including Penn Avenue into the Golden Valley area and Minneapolis here. Most ramps and bridges will be closed through July. July 15th is that arbitrary end date that's been put on this project. All work is weather dependent, but through the early part of the summer, no easy pass access, no transit access. Those HOV lanes will be used for westbound traffic. Just south of here, we have another major project starting next week around March 3rd. A very popular bridge just west of 35W will close for 2 years. It's the Nicollet Avenue Bridge that passes over Minnehaha Creek. March 3rd is when it shuts down. They're going to dismantle and replace the whole bridge, and this work will take until winter of 2027. So all of your roads around Nicollet Avenue will remain open. The posted detour will take you on Diamond Lake Road to 51st, which you might also know as Lyndale Avenue, and then 50th Street, which can bring you back to Nicollet Avenue. I'd recommend 35W as an alternate route. We will see some busier traffic there, especially through this spring and summer. Again, you can expect some crews there out and working as soon as this weekend. Here's what's going on in St. Paul. No shutdown scheduled for this weekend or the foreseeable future on 94, but you will notice active crews on either side of downtown as we're working on replacing two major bridges over the highways. The first is John Ireland Boulevard. That bridge was dismantled after the Twin Cities Marathon last fall. Work is going on through the spring and summer. You'll notice lane closures, ramp closures, and shoulder closures as crews continue to rebuild this bridge. It's set to reopen sometime this fall, as early as August of 2026. Different story for the Kellogg 3rd Street Bridge on the east side of downtown. We saw a full 94 closure a couple of weeks ago so they could set the beams for this bridge. It is now up, but Kellogg Boulevard is still closed south of downtown. That bridge won't be ready to drive on until fall of 2027. So we have about a year and a half left of construction there. One final project I want to give you a reminder of: 494, no shutdown this weekend, but you will notice crews as you're driving on either side of the road right around the airport. They've removed two bridges, the Nicollet Avenue Bridge and the 12th Avenue pedestrian bridge. The 12th Avenue vehicle bridge still needs to be removed. That is happening next weekend, March 6th through 9th, so keep that in mind. 494 will shut down in both directions next week. Something to keep in mind if you're headed out of town toward the airport for spring break.
Thanks so much, LA, for that very detailed traffic report. And as always, be safe out there on the roads.
Yeah, as they say, there's only three things certain in this life: death, taxes, and summer road construction in Minnesota. It's like,
right.
I mean, just like, when does it end? I feel like there's always something to do with the roads. You're either dealing with the snow, the ice, the sleet, or you're dealing with, it's just like, it's the Super Bowl for traffic reporting here in Minnesota, I think.
It sure is. And Lauren does a great job, and she rises to the occasion every single time. So we
Best
appreciate
in the Twin Cities,
that.
I think we said, right? Didn't we give her that? Didn't you give her that? She's the best traffic reporter in the Twin Cities?
I did say that, as a matter of fact. That's right. She is. And she absolutely is. And we're so lucky to have one of the best reporters in the Twin Cities that's going to be joining me next to talk about yesterday's Medicaid announcement. Rob Olson, you probably saw him on All Day earlier today. He'll be sitting right next to me here in Studio 9 and breaking down everything that the Vice President and Dr. Oz had to say yesterday and what Governor Walz responded to it today. That's coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. If you were with us yesterday, you saw we aired it in its entirety. Vice President J.D. Vance, Dr. Mehmet Oz, announcing that the Trump administration plans to halt $259 million in Medicaid payments to Minnesota over concerns about fraud in the state's social service program. Here to break down all of this with us is Fox 9 reporter and anchor Rob Olson. Rob, thanks so much for being with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thanks.
This is a lot to try to keep track of.
Yeah.
So forgive me. I mean, a lot of this stuff because it's coming fast and furious, trying to get the details here of it.
Yeah. Let's start simply. Can you just explain what exactly is Medicaid for those that may not even know what this is?
Medicaid versus Medicare.
Sure.
Yeah. And, and there's been, both have been mentioned in these, fraud concerns, but Medicaid is medical aid for low-income folks versus the Medicare, which is medical care for seniors. I mean, but basically, they do much of the same thing, which is federal funding to help to support various people who cannot afford health insurance or health programs, et cetera, pay for that. So, and a lot of that, what happens here and what we've seen, and, let's go back to Feeding Our Future, which is kind of the fraud thing that everybody knows about.
Yeah.
That was not one of those programs, but it was similar in that was federal money from the USDA coming to the state and other states, not just us, to provide meals for kids during the pandemic who weren't, getting them at school. And so that was pandemic relief. But that was from a USDA program because they supervise school lunches. These other things that they're concerned about now, say the autism centers and things like that. That's federal funding that then comes through the state, the Department of Human Services, who then acts as the mediator, middleman for these federal dollars to go to providers, right? Same kind of thing with Feeding Our Future. USDA money coming to the Department of Education to go for these school programs. But anyway, the Department of Human Services then manages this and becomes sort of the middleman. So it's federal funding, but it's up to the state to approve the providers, to process the claims, to pay out the money. The same thing. And, what they found is, I was at a news conference on Monday with Tim O'Malley, who Governor Walz had tapped to investigate fraud, to come up with a game plan. They called it a roadmap to combating it, which would then help inform the plan that he was introduced today. And, he had found legislative auditor reports going back into the 70s that had highlighted, where various departments were not having sufficient oversight and that corrective actions needed to be taken. And then maybe there would be talk of it and maybe something would happen. But then the follow through in terms of the compliance enforcement just continually never happened. Part of that is manpower, or people power. They just don't have enough people to do this. And then he also faulted a kind of a longstanding belief of compassion over compliance, which is we want to get this money out to the people who need it. And if there are people taking advantage of it, we just sort of accept that as a price to get it to the majority of people who are truly needing it. If we put up more roadblocks and more hurdles and more regulatory compliance checks, that might interrupt the flow of the money to the legitimate people who need it. But again, that opens those loopholes and those opportunities for people to find ways to cheat the system, whether it's, recruiting people to, you need a wheelchair when they don't, but and then they file a claim to be paid for those services or whatever it is. And so that's where we are now. And that's what the vice president announcing yesterday, freezing another, was it $250 million?
Yeah, $259.5 million. So that money that they're freezing, that's the money you were talking about. It's kind of going in. They're not going to bring they're not giving that money to even come in anymore.
To the state of Minnesota, right? So that's funding that comes to the state, that then these various agencies who manage these various programs, and the claims come in and the money gets paid out, or even just the applications to participate as a provider for diabetes services or home health care or whatever it may be, medical equipment, so they're saying that we're halting this money coming in so nothing more can go out to potential fraud. And what the governor then said today, and he said before, is that affects legitimate people who need these services. They're not going to get the services because we're not providing for it. But then that goes back to the argument that Tim O'Malley made, is that the compassion over compliance. And so, the trick here, the sweet spot, is to have strict compliance without making it hurt people who legitimately need it because they're not getting payments or coverage in a timely fashion. It's complicated.
Right.
But certainly everybody says, we don't want these fraudsters to find a way to game the system.
Right.
Rob, I've got a question for you.
I'm like, where did that voice come from?
Hearing it, whoa! Yeah. And there we are, the three of us together. I had a question. How long do we think it's going to take for this to affect the average person that might be using this? Or is there sort of a grace period, or does Minnesota have a rainy day fund for something like this?
Those are all good questions that I don't have an answer to. You stumped me on that. I don't know. And, that would be a question that we'd have to go to the state. I mean, do you have a way to make sure there's a continuity in these programs without this funding coming in? I don't know. Certainly, I mean, that's a very legitimate question.
It must be a terrifying time for someone that's really heavily dependent on it then.
Yeah, you would think so. But I think part of that, too, is this really puts, coming from the federal government, coming from the vice president's announcement, imagine the pressure that puts on to come up with solutions. Of course, there's accusations and from the governor today, is that it's purely political.
Right.
This is just continuing to punish Minnesota because it's a blue state, with a Democratic governor who, ran against, as part of the ticket. Sure. And so, they say that this is just punishing everybody in the state for certain things you don't like. But, but again, it's their way to amplify the pressure to say take action, which is what the legislature's trying to do.
Right. Yeah. So that $259 million that the White House isn't going to pay out, where does that money? We don't know. We don't know. And so who?
But those are all the various programs that this funds. Again, like I said, be it medical equipment, oxygen delivery, home health care aids, et cetera. It could affect any and all of that.
Who gets hit the hardest here, do you think? Is it the actual people on the ground that rely on the Medicaid programs, or is it the administrators that oversee it? Like who's getting affected?
Well, I mean, obviously the people that need the services that rely on them, they feel the pinch here because you're trying to prevent the people that don't need the services that are gaming the system. And so again, that's the the argument coming back from Governor Walz is that real people get hurt by the bad people that you're trying to make sure are stopped. And how do you do both? How do you continue the money going to the people that need it? I mean, low income, poverty level, et cetera, and stop it. And and that's what these various fraud legislative proposals are trying to tackle. In that you got to have better oversight. You've got to have better checks and balances. You got to have a more stringent system for people to enroll as providers of whatever medical services is, to enroll in that, to be approved, to be certain that they are providing it, and again, to not only that they are legitimate companies, which a lot of them, they have office space and they have staff and they have stuff, but then they file the claims, and there's got to be more checks to make sure that these claims you're filing are legitimate, that the business you claim to be doing is legitimate, And, that can take a lot of workforce, but it can take some technology improvements too.
Does this kind of all go back that the Nick Shirley video that went crazy last month, and
Yeah.
he was an invitee of Representative Stauber at the State of the Union on Tuesday night? Are all of those daycare places that he was kind of profiling, do all of those fit the bill for Medicaid? Like, are those places getting federal government funding?
Yeah, and that's that is one of the areas that is in question, is that, and we've done, I know our former investigator Jeff Ballion 10 years ago, or whatever it was, had done some stories on these daycares, and they were, and that's not to say all these daycares that he went to are
Illegitimate.
are taking advantage of the system. I mean, obviously, just because they wouldn't let him in to see kids. I mean, what daycare? I know my kids' daycare. They went to a YMCA daycare.
Sure.
And when we went to tour the place, they wouldn't, we had an appointment, but you still can't get in the building.
Right.
Until,
right.
you
Makes
have
sense.
a ring, it's
Yes.
just like anything else. We're here for this, okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else just showing up with a camera and saying, let me see the kids, of course they're not going to let you in to see them, even if it's a legitimate daycare. So that's where the critics of that video say, well, it didn't prove anything. It highlights the, say, suspicions, that there's fraud out there. But just because they wouldn't let you see kids doesn't mean they're not there. Who's going to let you in to do that? But that, there have been cases prosecuted by federal prosecutors here over the last decade, maybe more, of daycares that were recruiting, having kids sign up but not actually showing up. Maybe there'd be a few, but it was like they would tell parents, enroll your kids here, you qualify, because in all those cases, say you have a kid that qualifies for aid in a daycare, there's somebody from the state that comes out and interviews you to make sure that this is a legitimate situation, to look at your finances, to make sure that you fit it, and then they approve you. After that, then the daycare submit the invoices that say all these kids are showing up every day, get reimbursed because they're all covered under these assistance programs because of low income. But in the cases that were prosecuted, these kids, a lot of them weren't showing up, and the daycare operators were giving then a portion of their ill-gotten reimbursements to the parents. You get a kickback, you share in this by just letting us enroll your kid and going through the process of having somebody from the state come out and interview you and whatever. So, there have been those cases, and that has gone on. And the difficulty that the state has always said that they have is, they need to be doing spot inspections rather than, they inspect them twice a year.
And then
and a lot of times they know when they're coming.
Right. I was going to say they're on their best behavior. When they're around,
and get everybody in there. And they need to do spot inspections. Just don't let them know when you're coming. Do it once a month or so at random times. But the state agencies say we don't have enough people to do that. If it takes our inspection team, they're working full time across the state just to be able to go to these places twice a year. And so that becomes their issue of, well, you just say, well, you need to hire more people. Okay, well, then that costs this amount of money.
Right.
Then the legislators go, well, that's a lot of money to spend. And then you just wind up in a situation where things never get solved because it's not as easy as saying, well, just do that.
Of course. So what's next for all of this? I mean, when can Minnesota expect to have this ban uplifted? I mean, I think they said they gave Governor Walz 60 days to respond to their letter. Like how do you think all this is going to shake out?
Well, so we've got the legislative session typically goes until the end of May. This is a short year, so it started later. I'm not sure what the exact end date is supposed to be this year. But there have been, and this is where, my head spins, and I'm not the Capitol reporter, but I'm there enough trying to keep track of all the bills that have been introduced on both sides.
Sure.
Both the House and the Senate, but then both from Democrats and Republicans in both the House and the Senate, and now the governor with all these bills and proposals, and they all agree that we need to do something. They all largely agree on this issue of the Office of Inspector General, which doesn't exist right now. It's always been the legislative auditor, right? is the one that goes and looks through all the stuff. And they've got a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
And, so the Office of Inspector General would be an independent thing that would just oversee this. The Democrats have been wanting it to be a position appointed by the governor, whoever the governor is, right?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
Which the Republicans say, well, that's partisan because the Democrats will just put in, like, well, we could have a Republican governor. We haven't in a while.
Sure.
There could be.
It was the last Tim
Pawlenty.
Yeah.
And whereas the Republicans want a legislative panel or to appoint somebody to be in this partisan role, that's kind of a sticking point there. They all agree we should have this office.
They just don't know how to get there.
It was in the governor's proposal released today. We need to create this office. But then they get down into the weeds, and then they can't agree on the little particulars of who gets to pick who the inspector general is.
Sure.
And,
even though they're supposed to be unbiased, nonpartisan.
right.
Said, yeah.
And the GOP's worried that, in the event that we continue to have a Democratic governor, and certainly Amy Klobuchar is
the favorite,
a favorite to win it,
Yep.
That they feel like this is going to be a partisan position. How can we trust that they are doing what they need to do? So, I mean, that's part of it. I think, what I've seen in these proposals is Republicans want to have an additional investigatory body as part of that inspector general. And the governor has actually, begun a fraud office in the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and today said we want to expand that. He think the BCA should be in charge of this. And again, others think, no, it should be something entirely independent from that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. They'll do something, because this is continuing to be a hot button issue. And then both sides play the theatrics, the political theatrics, where Democrats accusing, I saw it in a release today, of the Republicans not being serious about this, that they're just, that they don't want to fix the problem. They want to exploit the problem for campaigning.
Sure.
Fixing it would then mean it takes away their campaign fodder.
Right.
But the Republicans say, oh, no, the Democrats, we've been warning about this for years, and they continue to kick the can down the road. Now they seem interested in it because it's a liability, and they say they're, that they haven't been serious about it. And so you get these things going back and forth. If I'm serious, you're not. No, I'm serious, you're not. I wanted to fix it, you didn't.
Sure.
No, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
And so that's what you get caught up in. And talking to Corin Hoggart, our Capitol reporter, today, he said his impression from being at the Capitol is that there is some serious work going on behind closed doors, behind the scenes, where they agree on more than they might let on.
Yeah.
But in the news releases and the news conferences, they continue to play partisan, mud throwing for, to appease whoever that they're trying to appease. But behind, that neither side maybe wants to admit that they're going to be, working together and compromising with the other side, because they worry that their supporters don't. Compromise has become a dirty word in modern politics. And there's a lot of people say that we need to get back to the days where we disagree politically, but we can go out and have a beer or whatever and hash out what we agree on.
Yeah.
But so he said it sounds like, to him, his sense is that behind closed doors, there's a lot more of that going on than they let on in public.
Yeah. Well, this story, like you said, it's not going away anytime soon, and so you're very much on top of it, Rob. We really appreciate it.
I don't know about
complex.
that.
It's very complex, but we were able to break this down to simplistically.
I'm trying to be on top of it.
Yes.
There's so much out there
that
it is very difficult. It's like I need to create a spreadsheet for all these various bills and see where they line up and don't and whatever, because it's a lot right now, and hopefully over the next a few weeks to a month that some of these things will get filtered down into more coherent and cohesive ideas, rather than being here's 24 various proposals and bills.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for being with me today. I really do appreciate it. We'll do it again with the next announcement with all of this.
Okay,
so,
we'll do.
Awesome. Coming up, we have a very special guest. We just had very special guest with Rob Olson, and we have Hennepin County Sheriff Dawanna Witt joining us next as part of our ongoing celebration of Black History Month. So much to talk about with the sheriff. We're so excited to have her on here on the afternoon shift. Don't go anywhere. That interview with Sheriff Witt is coming up right after this. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. So excited for this next guest. She needs no introduction. This is Hennepin County Sheriff Dawanna Witt. Dawanna Witt, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Sheriff Witt, thanks so much for being here. Let's get right into it. You're part of our ongoing celebration of Black History Month. You're the first Black sheriff in Hennepin County history. You're also the first woman sheriff in Hennepin County history as well. Sheriff Witt, what do all of these firsts mean to you?
Oh boy. Well, I could tell you this. It most certainly, I have this saying that I say, which is, if you can't see her, you can't be her. So what it means to me is, opening those doors for others to come behind me, but not to just open them, make sure that they stay open too, right? But I could tell you too, there's a little bit nervous because you're like, I can't mess this up for everybody either.
I hear that. I think that's a great line. If you can't see her, you can't be her. We'll circle back to that line in a little bit here, but we want to know what goes into the day-to-day of being the sheriff of one of the nation's most populated counties. What's your day-to-day like?
Oh my goodness. Well, I could tell you I don't have a life anymore. Your days start early and they end between then following up with constituents and making sure that you're responsive, right? Because this job it bears a lot of responsibility. And one of the things that I always say too is that, I don't want to overlook people who need to be seen and heard. And so when you are a responsive sheriff in one of the most populated counties, it means that you're often busy. So it's not good enough just to say it's all about policies and procedures, but it's also being sure that you can connect with the community. So that means you can't just be in the office. You also have to be in the community, which are things that I take very seriously. But no day is the same. It's very different. That's probably one of the reasons why I've been in this profession now for 26 years, because I do like the fact that you just don't know what kind of day or how busy it's going to be. You just know it's going to be busy.
I hear that. I hear that. Let's talk about the community here. Sheriff Witt, I know relations between the Black community of residents in Hennepin County and law enforcement officers hasn't always been tremendous, very rocky at times. I was looking into your background. I read that you grew up just a couple blocks, if not one block away from the site of where George Floyd was murdered as well. How are you and how is the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office working on improving relations between your office, police officers throughout the county, and the community of color, particularly the Black community?
Right. Well, as somebody who has grown up in South Minneapolis, I absolutely understand where there's some community members that don't like or trust law enforcement, because I, in fact, was that little girl. But that's why I also know why the importance of having police in the community, actually interacting with the community. That's the only way to build trust. Some people ask, well, how is it that you didn't like or trust the police and now you are in law enforcement? Well, my journey started as a detention deputy at the Hennepin County Jail. And to me, that was different from seeing law enforcement in and out of squad cars. But I would tell you it was because I had to have that contact, that interaction. I got to learn them as individuals. I got to see people past the badge and the uniform to understand that, wait a minute, they're not all mean. They're not all bad. And I used to really think that. So, you take that as somebody who actually grew up in this community, Minneapolis, and you have to lead with that. It's not good enough to stay behind the desk, as I said earlier. You have to be out there. You have to be talking to people. You have to know who lives in homes, who owns these businesses. It's about building relationship, and there is no quick fix for that. It's a ongoing process, and you have to be dedicated to it. But for our law enforcement leaders, you have to lead with that. And the people that you are overseeing at your agencies have to see that that is what the leadership's doing. And, when you thrive off of it, like I do, like my assistant will say, you're crabby, you need to go out somewhere into the community, because she knows every time I do, I just come back refreshed. And so it's leading by example in the rarest form.
Yeah. I want to go touch on something that you just talked about there, saying that your first job was in the Hennepin County Jail. What's that like? That's a world that the vast majority of us are very unfamiliar with. What's it like in that position, especially as a young Black woman in that job? I mean, that's got to be a very interesting place to be.
Well, I'll say, like, before I was a detention deputy, I worked in nonprofit. I worked with families who had chemical dependency issues and open child protection cases. And the way that I ended up at Hennepin County Jail is that I went there for a tour. And it was a female deputy that gave that tour. And at the end, she said to me, you know what, we can use more women in this field, specifically women of color. And it was that conversation that we had where I never considered it, never knew what to expect of it. But I filled out an application and ultimately started working there. And it was interesting, just being there. And because I'm from this community, seeing people that I knew from the community, sometimes incarcerated in the jail, and things like that, it made me want to help people even more. When you are a child and you have parents that are incarcerated too, which was my experience as well, knowing that when people are released from being incarcerated, hoping that your parents or your loved ones, your uncle, aunts, whoever it is, come back a better person. That's what it all started off for me. I loved my time working as a detention deputy in the jail, because I did feel like I was helping people. I did feel like people can relate to me and that I can relate to them too. And I think we need more of that. Again, bringing back the humanity to this profession is so important.
Absolutely. Very well said there, too. Let's get into some current topics that are going on right now. We just saw you here on Fox 9 yesterday, the FBI and local law enforcement. There was a big drug bust, 12 people arrested, all tied to a Minneapolis gang. They seized 3.5 million lethal doses of fentanyl. Can you tell us more about that? And do you think that that gang activity is a problem in Hennepin County?
Well, yes, I do. Gang activity is a problem, and we can't talk about like gang activity, drugs or gun as singular entities. We know that they're all combined, right? And then with that, we have violence. When you're talking to families, just talking to some of the moms that I've talked to who have lost their kids to fentanyl. The collaborations that we have with our various law enforcement agencies, again, we realize that we can't do this by ourselves. There has to be collaboration. And it's not good enough just to get the people who are, let's say, on the street corner or whatever, but having the tools and the resources and the partnerships necessary to follow it wherever it goes. I mean, some of our investigations have led to transnational investigations. So we're not just stopping here with the people that are in the community, but we're working out where is it coming from, because again, we're all affected by it. I think it is very important that when we're talking about what are the things that are harming our communities, that we're doing everything possible and collaborating with our local, state, federal partners to make sure that we are really serious about the oath that we took, which is to keep our communities safe, to protect people from violence, from drugs, and anything else that is causing harm to people in our community, especially our children.
Yeah. I know another big hot button issue here is ICE. There's a lot of questions in regards to that. We've seen you in press conferences standing next to Governor Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey. I know you've been in touch certainly with Tom Homan and his office as well. Before we get into Mr. Homan, where do you see ICE right now in Hennepin County? Where are we at right now? Are we in a better spot than we were, maybe a month ago?
Well, first, to all those press conferences, what I want your viewers to know is that I do smile. I do have all my teeth. Sorry, my daughters always say, you need a smile sometimes. Serious topics. But no, we are not seeing as much activity. Again, I think it's important, though, for people to know that ICE have always been here. We have not had that surge that we had ever before, right? That was unprecedented. But I think it's important to know that they've always had a part here. They've always been office here, but just not in those numbers. But yes, we are seeing less activity. We do not know how many people are still here. Agents are here to enforce immigration, but we are seeing a decrease.
Yeah. Can you go ahead? Yes,
I've
Paul.
got a question. Speaking of those,
Where did you come up from?
I was the elevator operator when you were in the waiting room before we came on. Sheriff Paul, nice to meet you. Speaking of those press conferences where we've seen you standing up there with, like you said, Governor Walz and Brian O'Hara, the thing that I've always noticed is those 4 stars on your collar. What do they mean? I'm really curious to know what those 4 fancy stars mean.
4 for fabulous? I don't know. So, it varies at different agencies, but for me here, it shows that I'm the sheriff. I believe that Chief O'Hara has 4 stars as well. So it varies per agency, but for me, it's that I'm the sheriff.
Is 4 the top? Can't get any more?
5.
You can get 5.
5.
What would that position be?
No, you could by choice. If I just wanted to change the policy and say, you know what, I don't want 4 stars, I want 5, I could do it.
I think you should just get 5 on there, then. So that when you're next to Brian O'Hara as well, you've got 5.
It's interesting because I'm a hugger, and if I have like my suit jacket on with them, they're like ninja stars because I feel like I'm just sticking everybody in the chin when I give hugs. So.
Okay. Well, there you go. I've always wondered. The more you know.
You know what? Since we're on the topic of Police Chief O'Hara. And he comes on Fox 9 programming all the time, Sheriff Witt. Can you take us behind the curtains? What's it like to work closely with him?
Well, there's not too many people that is as busy or busier than I am. He is one of those people, It's interesting, like with Chief O'Hara, who is not originally from here, but just even explaining those things, and actually to anybody, that I am not the sheriff of Minneapolis. I'm the sheriff of Hennepin County. So, where there's so much activities going on in Minneapolis, yes, I'm always going to be here, and we have great partnerships to help. And yes, most of the problems are here, but to also recognize that I have other statutory mandates that do not involve Minneapolis. So there's been a couple of conversations with us about that. Like, I got to be everywhere within Hennepin County. And yeah, but he is quite busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to go back. You're talking about yourself as a youth and talking about how you didn't really like the police and you didn't really trust the police. You didn't want to talk to the police. There are certainly people out there watching this right now that don't like interacting with the police. I prefer to not interact with the police myself. I'm not going out of my way to do so. I try to stay below the speed limit so I can, limit those interactions and all of that stuff. But for people out there that are truly scared of police officers and truly, maybe even dare I say, anti-police officers, particularly members of, Black communities and Hispanic communities and whatnot, what would you say to them?
Well, I'm going to answer that in two ways. As far as for community members and things like that, especially in the Black community, we know what it feels like to be stereotyped or judged because of what we look like. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that's the same thing with law enforcement, stereotyping and judging because of what we're wearing or the profession that we're in. Mm-hmm. That goes two ways. But something I've also said to people that are in this profession is that you never know what somebody's story is. You don't know where that fear comes from. You don't know where that anger comes from. When I used to be a supervisor for over school resource officer program, and some of the schools, this is when I was with Dakota County Sheriff's Office, we had very difficult population schools. They were setting for schools. But something I always told them is like, don't be who they expect you to be. Because, they got to go back to their communities. And you never know what it is that they engaged or encountered that gave them those views. So that was one of the best pieces of advice I can give to people. But now when we bring that together, when I could say I was that kid, I'm telling people there is no special recipe. There is no magic wand that will work. The only thing that breaks down those kind of barriers is conversations and interactions. And it's not going to be one time. Or again, for people in law enforcement, why do we have to wait for people to come say, hello, how are you? Or hello, what's your name? That goes two ways, right? Where I think people are looking for this magical answer and there's not. It's just being human and just being kind, being curious. And that's not something we could tell people to do. It's something that happens through not just one experience, it's repetitive experiences.
Yeah, very well said there. Finally, Sheriff Witt, I know you're very busy. We really appreciate your time. I want to go back to your quote. If you can't see her, you can't be her. Do you hope that you as Hennepin County Sheriff will inspire other young women of color to aspire to a career in law enforcement themselves?
I do. And, as somebody also who didn't always believe in myself, I totally realize how important it is to know that you can have a good life and a better life. But, there's one young lady that we have here that's our intern. And it's interesting, when I first met her, she just kept emailing us. She wanted to meet with me. And so my assistant, she sets up this meeting and she gets here and this young lady is visibly athletic, but she's huffing and puffing. And I'm like thinking, oh boy, did something happen to her coming downtown? And so I said, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. She goes, but I'm just really bad at parallel parking and I had to park far away and I ran here so I wouldn't be late to see you. And I'm like, wow, I thought that one was amazing for a young person, understanding the urgency of being on time. But then she also, at the end of that conversation, and I said, hey, why me? Why did you pick me? She lives out in Brooklyn Park or Brooklyn Center. It's like, why did you want to come here? And she said it. She says, I keep seeing you everywhere. I keep seeing your name everywhere. And I took that as a sign. And that just solidified that, okay, I'm doing the right things. If you can't see her, you can't be her. But inspiring this young lady who now is, again, one of our interns / employees, and she's going to school to be in law enforcement, that's what relationships are all about. That's what's inspiring anybody in leadership. If you're not inspiring other people, then you're not doing your job as a leader.
I love it, Sheriff Witt. Thank you so much for being with us today. We really do appreciate your time. This means a lot for our entire show, so thanks for being a part of it. The first woman and first Black sheriff in Hennepin County history. And by the way, also an alumna of one of my favorite schools in the entire country, St. Catherine University. Shout out to St. Kate's. I know you're very proud of that as well. So thank you so much, Sheriff Witt, for being with us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. That was awesome. All right. Coming up right after this, we're going to welcome in Dawn Mitchell into the studio. We'll talk a little sports happening here in Minnesota. That's coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. The only way to follow up Hennepin County Sheriff Dawanna Witt is the sheriff of our sports department. That's Miss Dawn Mitchell. Sheriff Mitchell, thanks so much for being here today. We appreciate it.
You know, I've been saying all week because I've been interviewing very strong, smart, sassy women.
Yeah.
I identify with sassy.
Yes.
I loved that interview. Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Really.
She's enjoyable to listen to.
I really do appreciate that, Dawn. We were working hard to get her, so we were really happy to have her on. And we're really happy to have you on, too. I know we tried to get you yesterday. We had some breaking news, so thanks for being flexible and coming back on with us.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, it's actually good timing that we have you on today because the Wild, they're back in action tonight after the Olympic break. And it's not an easy game coming out. This is the best team in the NHL they're playing tonight, the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, and jump right back into the fire, right?
Yes.
That's exactly it. So, you know, I kind of feel for the guys that haven't been skating. They've been off. And they're professionals. I know that they're not going to be rusty or anything, but you just never know. Yeah. You know, the Olympians, some people say, well, they could be tired, but they've been keeping their legs under them. Mm-hmm. But to jump right back in, I mean, you know, there's Colorado's at the top. Now, Minnesota is third. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're also third in the West, too. So you're talking about the best in the NHL, but also you try to get out of your division, but not when you see them ahead of you as well. So I believe the Wild are 8 points behind them going into tonight's action. So, you know, it's all on the table again, and they got a battle, and let's jump in, sink our teeth in, and also, you know, kudos to Matt Boldy.
That's right.
Brett, excuse me. We got Faber, Boldy, John Hines, and where am I? Oh,
Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, come on. I was thinking Quinn and Jack. Jack's not on our team, but Jack's played last night. So
that's right.
Just to get the three Olympians back, John Hines said he learned so much from the Olympics, like as a coach. Yeah. And what he said yesterday really took to me. He said, it's the games where everything matters. Mm-hmm. You know, the stakes are higher. Mm-hmm. and no higher than facing Colorado tonight, so he can just practice what he preaches tonight.
No doubt, no doubt. The Wild with 3 players on Team USA, the Avalanche 0 players on Team USA. You think there could be maybe a post-Olympic hangover today? I mean, do you think that factors into this game? Because I know it's just another regular season game, but like you said, this is the best team, not just in the Western Conference, but in the NHL. If you're the Wild, you'd like to send a message and beat them on their ice tonight.
And what do you mean by post-Olympic hangover?
No.
For which team?
Oh, for the Wild.
Are you talking a legit hangover?
Just
we did see Faber
Yeah.
and Quinn and everyone
in Miami.
partying.
Yeah.
No, sometimes though, when you have a break in the middle, that's what I said. My concern would be more for the guys that weren't skating than actually that were in the Olympics, right?
Sure.
Because when you just play on that, we see it in every sport. You see it in football too. Some of them
Baseball.
coming off a bye week.
Yep.
So, but again, they're professionals. They're going to get themselves ready, but they better get their legs under them. So we'll see how it comes out tonight.
That's right. Let's stick with hockey. Let's go over to the women's side, the Frost. They're fresh off Team USA winning the gold medal as well, beating Canada in overtime, just like the men. They're back in action in Canada at Montreal on Sunday. Women's hockey is having a moment right now in the United States, and listen, let's just talk about what Hillary Knight of the Frost had to say. She said the President Trump's statement that he had to invite the Team USA women's team to the State of the Union or face impeachment, distasteful.
Hillary doesn't, play for the Frost, but
I'm sorry.
Team USA.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Team
She
USA.
was the captain.
She was the captain of Team USA. Where do you kind of see all of this kind of going with women's
I was
hockey?
really proud of Hillary, and the whole team follows behind her, obviously, being the captain, doing all that, being as legendary as she is and retiring, after this Olympics. So that was her last Olympics. And what I love about what she said is, so for her, she said it was a distasteful joke, but what I loved is she put the emphasis back on who it belongs, and it belongs on the women. And that has been echoed through Taylor Heisey to anyone that you ask, that this team was incredible. Nothing will break the unity that this team had. Nothing takes away from the fact that they won a gold medal. Nothing takes away from any of it, nor does it take away from the fact that they had a really synergistic, fun relationship with the men's team.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what I hate is that the women now have to answer these questions.
100%.
That's the one thing, that they have to defend it. And so I keep coming back to this, just like Eleanor Roosevelt said, right? That you are not offended unless you give them consent, basically. I'm paraphrasing, right? No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And that's exactly what the women are doing. They are not feeling inferior. They're not giving consent. They're saying, we're not responsible for what was said.
Sure.
We're not responsible for anyone's reactions. We know our reaction, and our reaction is we're good. And
Yes.
the guys were good to us. And let's not take the shine off this. So I hope it gets passed quickly, because these women deserve to be celebrated. And everything that we saw, when Jack Hughes scored that game winner and people were interviewing right after the game, he's like, I was thinking of Megan when she scored the overtime for the women.
Yeah.
So we know that they had a really good relationship. They're not responsible for words that come out of other people's mouths. So, but they're left with the wreckage of having to deal with it. So hopefully now they can they're taking the high road, and I'm so happy for them.
Yeah. Mic drop right there. That
Yeah.
was very well said. Very well said. Well, let's talk now. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Frost. They're in Montreal. How's the team shaping up? Do you think this post-Olympic stretch here? Where do you see the Frost kind of shaking out this season?
Yeah, and it's really hard, because if anyone knows anything about the Frost, right, they love to have difficulties in the regular season, and then they even have difficulties in the playoffs, and then they turn it on and they win the Walter Cup. So right now, of course, they're not the best team in the league, but they do have 8 Olympians from across various teams in the Olympics coming back. I love what I see in this team, and they're empowered. They're, all emboldened when you have that many women coming back with gold, and you impress that upon the other people on the team, right? And let's not forget, other girls on the team women on the team have played, whether it's World Juniors or in the Olympics themselves. They have that experience. So I think they can carry this forward. I'm really looking forward to it. But it's a long stretch. Like Taylor Heisey said, my house is a mess. I think I did laundry. I'm going back on the road in Montreal, and we've got 3 months to go.
Yeah.
They got a ways to go. But I think this can really buoy a team. I really do.
Yeah. Montreal is one of the coolest names in the PAWHL, the Victoire.
victoire.
I love the victoire. I love
Yes.
that. I love it. Very French. Very French. Okay, let's bring it to football now. Kevin O'Connell.
yes.
He's in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine. You ever been to the NFL Combine, by the way?
I'm not. I'm not.
I haven't
It's
either.
my one holdout.
It seems awesome. It really does seem it seems like an awesome convention. It's probably a lot of fun behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Eating
Seems
shrimp
like
cocktail.
a massive pro day.
Yes.
Just that one massive, pro day of everybody.
Yes.
And it's great because you can see what talent is out there.
Before we even talk about what Kevin O'Connell had to say, what exactly is the Combine for people that don't know exactly what it is?
Well, the combine is, and let's say not always the best people. Like sometimes they'll sit out the combine, or I'm not throwing. Let's say if you're a top-ranked quarterback, I'm not throwing
Like
during
Fernando
the combine.
Mendoza,
Right.
yep.
They can choose not to because schools or that they're at have made a pro day with teams that they're kind of eyeing. So they want to save their arm or say whatever. But by and large, it's for athletes that want to showcase their wares to any team.
Yep.
And sure, these teams already have tape on these guys, right? And they have scouts. But if you really make a showing at Pro Day, you can really get yourself on the map. And that's, and you can also lose stock.
That's right.
Which is why some people don't want to throw, or don't want to do some things.
That's
so
right.
It can be a make or break thing, but it's just one of the tools that the NFL uses to really evaluate the talent with the draft coming up.
That's right. That's right. Kevin O'Connell, Vikings head coach, he was there. He had some nice things to say about fired GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He said his relationship with him is always strong. Do you think that we haven't talked to you since the Vikings and Kwesi cut ties? You knew him. You interacted with him.
Yeah.
You've interviewed him before. What kind of type of guy was he?
Kwesi was not your typical general manager in the fact that he's kind of if you want to call sabermetrics of football, right? It's more the heady new age way of looking at evaluating players. But he and Kevin O'Connell together, and this is why I like that KO really said that. Listen, we're still friends. We're tight. They changed the culture, and that was everything that they were saying. Now, I liked Mike Zimmer, but these are different athletes. Like the younger athletes this day and age are a little bit different. You can't coach that. We see it in the Olympics with Alyssa Liu, right? Like
Yes.
the mentality is different. Power through, suck it up. Like that's not going to work anymore.
No.
And so I really give credit to Kwesi and Kevin together for forming a team. I would say during the Zimmer years, great guys, and that has been a staple of the Wilfs. Yeah. They were really good about let's change it too. So under Zimmer it changed. The players were amazing and got even better, I would say, under Kevin O'Connell. And they understand the younger athlete. But what KO did say this week is we're exploring all options, all opportunities at quarterback. And I think that was the key. And while many people are shocked, I think if you really listen to both what Kwesi said before he was fired at his end of the season press conference and KO, they tell you what they're saying couched in things. Like they're being transparent. You just have to kind of read through it like, did he really say that? The first time I heard that maybe they weren't all on board on Team JJ was when Kevin O'Connell once said, well, he did take that day and those days off when he had his baby. And I was like, oh, that was the first time he said that. So if you listen carefully, Kevin O'Connell tells you the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes he says things that you have to kind of carve through.
Can I
that's it.
Can I press the pause?
Yeah.
What did he say about JJ taking days off with his baby?
He wasn't happy about it.
He wasn't
because
happy.
You have to do installments and get ready. The latter part
it was
of
during
the
the
week,
season,
right before you go to play the game.
Yeah.
So. And so you have to, I'm really happy for him, but you got to be there. The NFL, it's almost like being in media. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great. We would all love to have every Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, right?
Yep.
But you got to be there for your job. And if you don't, sometimes things fall not your way. And so he said those are crucial reps and preparations that could have helped him get better. And so you listen to that. Kevin doesn't lie. He tells you the truth. He might not tell you the whole truth because he can't, no coach can. But if you listen, just like at the end of their season press conferences, you kind of knew that they weren't 100% on board. We're going to explore some veteran opportunities. And what KO said, he even more so emphasized from the combine that we have Justin Jefferson, we have Jalen Naylor, we have Addison, we have these tools. I think you mentioned Hawkinson. We have these tools. Basically, translation, we're in a window with Justin Jefferson, and we got to get him someone to throw the ball. Now, that's my interpretation of it. He's not going to say that. He's going to say it much more eloquent and professional NFL coach speak. Yeah. But basically, we got to get someone. And if it's not JJ, we got to find out now. So
who is the guy?
Well,
then?
so, if you look down the three names that you're hearing, right, is going to be Kirk Cousins. People are like, but Kirk Cousins is a perfect fit. He already knows the offense.
Yep.
Right? He has already been a backup. So that coming down from I'm the starter to the backup, he's kind of already been through that drill. And he loves Minnesota. Yeah. And he would be willing to teach a young guy. And if you can't learn from a Kirk Cousins, maybe you don't have the chops to be in the NFL, or maybe you won't be a starter, you'll be a career backup. Like, who knows? But they got to find out now. Their window on J.J. McCarthy is closing, right? They don't want to see Justin Jefferson's career kind of go down the backside without really giving him someone to throw the ball to. And then Geno Smith. They're saying now people are like, oh God, did you see him with the Raiders? Yes. But it all depends. This coaching staff now is evaluating down in Vegas, do they want to keep him or not? Because they've worked with him before. And then some people are even saying, is Derek Carr going to come out of retirement?
Derek Carr?
And if you ask
Fresno
me,
State Derek Carr?
I'm like,
he's old.
Well, are we really going to take someone out of retirement again?
He's old.
I was on board if they took Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
What about Mac Jones from the 49ers? Isn't that a name that they should be looking at? I mean, he beat the Rams on Thursday night in L.A. last year. Like, the 49ers, they were, I don't know. He looked pretty good when he was on the field with the 49ers. Maybe it's that 49ers helmet. They always look good with.
Yeah, and I think that if you kind of eliminate, I think what they're really looking for, and this is what I think, maybe they're looking for a veteran that if he has to start and win these games.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to get. So, we saw what Sam Darnold did, you know, so.
Totally. The NFL draft, it seems far away, but guess what, folks? April is it's March next week. It's March on Sunday. So the NFL draft is right around the corner, maybe 5-6 weeks away. So plenty of Vikings talk coming up here before they go into their summer kind of off season, if you will.
Well, then there's rookie mini
never
camps,
stops in the NFL.
There's,
never
all
stops.
that stuff.
It never stops.
No.
Just like you never stop, Dawn. You were you're so great to us coming on today and talking about all of this, and we really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here.
There's haters out there going, if she says Kirk Cousins, I'm not listening to her anymore. I'm just saying the names that are being bandied about.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Dawn. I appreciate it. So here, this is a continuing theme on today's afternoon shift episode. We have real strong women leaders. So we went from Sheriff Dawanna Witt. We have Dawn Mitchell, Emmy Award-winning Dawn Mitchell, Fox 9 Sports anchor. And now, coming up next, we have the chair of the America 250 Committee, appointed by President Joe Biden. Her name is Rosie Rios. She also is the former treasurer of the United States of America, appointed by President Barack Obama. This is a big deal. Rosie Rios coming on the show next. I'm so excited. This is a great little triidium of
I'm kind of
segments.
feeling like that Sesame Street thing. Which one of these things is not like the other?
No. You're fantastic. We appreciate you, Dawn. Thank you so much. Thank you. Some America 250 talk. Happy birthday, USA. Rosie Rios coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. All year long in 2026, we are saying happy birthday to our great country. Happy 250th birthday, USA. The biggest nationwide initiative to ring in 250 years is America 250. You've probably seen or heard about it. Here to tell us more is America's 250s, their chair and the former treasurer of the United States of America, Miss Rosie Rios. Rosie, thank you so much for being with me today. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Adam. Great to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. Rosie, before we get into specifics, there are probably some people out there learning about America 250 for the first time right now. So if you had to describe America 250 to somebody that is completely unaware, what would you say?
America 250 is a national organization charged by Congress to plan the nation's 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Awesome. We're so excited. There's so many different initiatives and different celebrations. Let's start with America's field trip. I know that this is a contest with the deadline kind of quickly approaching that's really geared towards students all across the United States. What's America's field trip all about?
Yeah, so we're thrilled with America's Field Trip. This is actually our third round. America's Field Trip is a national student competition for grades 3 through 12 who get to answer the question, what does America mean to me? They could do it in an essay, a poem, a piece of art. And the beauty of this program is that the winners get to choose from a series of backstage experiences, most of which have never been offered to the public before. So yes, the deadline is coming. It's March 30th. But we already have to date every single state and territory represented. So the submissions are coming in. The field trips are happening this coming summer, and we'd love to have more people participate. That's
Awesome. Can you, I don't know if you've seen some of the submissions already. Can you tell us what have you been seeing that's been coming in from some of our students across the country?
Yeah, I think what's really great about these submissions is that a lot of them are very personal. A lot of them might be, maybe it's their great uncle that served in the Vietnam War. Maybe it's their parents or their grandparents who came over from another country. Maybe they came over from another country. Or really, I think there's just a lot of good kind of this American spirit, these ambitions, these aspirations, these hopes, and really, how to realize the American dream is a really great theme.
That's awesome. I'm so excited to learn more about that. And like you said, submissions from all 50 states, including right here in Minnesota. So if you are interested in getting involved in that, I believe the website is america250.org, correct?
America250.org /field trip. Submissions again until March 30th. Field trips this summer and our third round. But you know what? We're going to do it again next fall as well. So the more the merrier. But we really hope this is our big year for all 3 years that we've been doing this.
Awesome. Let's move on to America's Startup. So what is this all about, Chair Rios?
So it's another national student competition, but this one, you're going to find a great thread here, which is this commission really wanted to focus on inspiring this next generation of leadership. And when you think about the American dream, what better way to articulate it than kind of pursuing your own ideas. And so America's Startup is a national student competition for colleges and universities where undergraduates get to submit their idea for a new startup. We're trying to find the next generation of entrepreneurs, innovators, creators, makers, and what a great way to focus on undergraduates. A lot of these startup funds out there focus on graduate students because that's where the research is, the patent, etc. But we really think that it really starts in college. We want these kids to feel like their whole future is in their hands. And what better way than to kind of get the brass ring and realize their own American dream of their own startup idea.
Amazing. So what does the winner of America's Startup get?
There'll be 10 winners who get $25,000 of non-dilutive funding. But in addition to that, look, we have this competition underway. The deadline for this is March 31st. We're going to convene the top 30 proposals. We're going to bring them to Silicon Valley, to Draper University in San Mateo, California, and we're going to tape them. We're going to have this show. We're going to have this documentary made, and we will choose those 10 that weekend. It's going to be the first weekend in May, and what a great way for these future leaders to be able to meet a lot of these investors, a lot of these movers and shakers of Silicon Valley, and hopefully again get inspired to really feel their own future.
Yeah, and hopefully one of those 10 will be right from Minnesota, and you'll be able to see them up there in NorCal. That would be amazing. I know another big part of the America 250 initiative is volunteering, not just volunteering for America 250, but volunteering for different organizations just in your local communities, just as a way of giving back to celebrate America's 250th birthday. Can you talk about the importance of the volunteer aspect as a part of your committee?
Absolutely. So you're talking about America Gives. America Gives are a national service initiative which aims to make 2026 the largest year of volunteer hours ever recorded by our country. It's never happened before. So look, our country was founded in service. We obviously want to honor our past, but we also want to inspire the future. For anyone who has high school kids or had high school kids who had to do community service hours in order to graduate from high school, that number's never been recorded at the national level. We want those kids to continue their volunteer service. We want them to continue on through college and continue that volunteer service. We have dozens of partners on our website at America Gives, at America250.org, America Gives. And right now, when you go to our website, you'll see the counter that's already on there, where all these nonprofit organizations are already aggregating through our portal what those volunteer hours look like. I think when I last looked this morning, it was about 1.6 million hours. But look, the sky's the limit. This has never happened. Is it going to be 1 billion hours on December 31st? 10 billion hours? I mean, look, Coca-Cola alone has pledged 250,000 hours across their corporation. Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, the commissioner, has pledged 250,000 volunteer hours from the commissioner's office, major league, and the minor league teams. Who else wants to pledge? I mean, again, this is really a great way to bring our country together in a great kind of unified approach, and really, again, understand and appreciate these values in which we were founded. And by the way, we're using the 2 federally recognized days of service to make giving back a year-round effort. So, of course, there's MLK Day, right? January for Martin Luther King Day. The second federally recognized day of service is 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Many people don't know that. So, by the way, 2026 is the 25-year anniversary of 9/11. We will not forget. And what better way to remember the fallen and those who, the frontline responders who gave their lives and who continue to give of service, than a day of service. We will be there. The full commission is actually having our commission meeting in New York around that time, so we could be there with 9/11 Day in a day of service.
All of those sound really, really inspiring and really great. Let's stick on the service theme there. Rosie, you're in this position as chair of the America 250 committee. How did you get to that point? I know you have a career that's really dedicated to service towards this country. Can you talk a little bit about your background and what brought you to this moment now?
Well, absolutely. Look, I mean, my background's in investments. I never in a million years thought, if you would have asked me 18 years ago, would I ever think about working for the federal government? Would I ever think about leading the nation's planning efforts for the 250th? I don't think I would have envisioned that again 18, 20 years ago. But look, I got the call in 2008. During the time of the financial crisis, to be part of this transition team in Treasury and the Federal Reserve to implement the legislation that Congress had just passed to put our economy back on track, the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act. And I thought, oh, sure, I'll take that as a short-term stint. I was living in California, had a very full life, and I was in that transition team under Secretary Paulson and President Bush from November of 2008 to February 2009. About 24 of us finance professionals were brought in to implement that legislation, and then about half a dozen of us were chosen to be a permanent part of the next administration. And so, when duty calls, I did it. And look, if I had to do it all over again, absolutely, I would do it all over again. And now, I've worked through, I guess, technically 5 administrations.
So cool.
Honored to serve this administration. Honored to see this country's anniversary come to fruition. And look, we think this is the moment that's going to lead to the movement. We want this to continue long after 2026. This is a global platform. We have the World Cup here, mostly in the United States. We, of course, have the Olympics in 2028. And the only way we're going to get to this 350 for 250, engaging all 350 million Americans in this effort, is to keep this momentum going all the way through July 4th and beyond. Yeah.
Let's bring it back here to Minnesota. I know one of the big events happening here in the land of 10,000 Lakes is the Water Lantern Festival happening in St. Paul in June. Do you know anything specifically about this? I know there's so many events. You probably have your head jumbled with everything, but anything specific about that?
Well, look, we have our master calendar and interactive map on our website,
Yes,
America250.org. We are encouraging all 56 parts of our country to populate what's happening. I know Minnesota has been a very, very active commission for us. We have, by the way, America 250 commissions established in all 56 parts of our country, the 50 states, DC, and the 5 territories. And I know Minnesota has been extremely, extremely passionate. We appreciate that. And we literally gave the keys to the castle to all of our state commissions. They can populate along with us on our master calendar and interactive map. I just spoke at the National Governors Association conference this last weekend. All the governors are just thrilled to participate. And what we want to see is on July 4th, we are doing America's Ultimate Block Party. Think of this as 56 viewing parties around the country to see what's happening everywhere, whether we all get to see what's happening with the DC parade on July 4th, whether we all get to see what's happening at the Milwaukee Summerfest Festival in Wisconsin, whether we also get to see what's happening at the LA Coliseum where we're going to be anchored. I mean, look, this has to be a sea to shining sea effort. This has to be kind of connective tissue for all of us. And what better way to do that than by having every state participate in this effort?
Yeah, you already touched on some of the events happening specifically on the 250th birthday, July 4th. Can you kind of dive more into that? What can we expect to see on July 4th? This is going to be a 4th of July unlike any other, I think, for all of us living in the United States. Certainly for myself, maybe those that were living in 1976 maybe saw something similar. That would be you. I didn't say that, you did. But for those of us that are a little bit on the younger side, what can we expect on July 4th of this summer?
Everything that you're saying and so much more. You might have seen our announcement at Times Square on New Year's Eve, where our America 250 is launching the first ever ball drop outside of New Year's Eve on July 3rd to ring in July 4th. So that's going to be the beginning, right? It's a global countdown. And the reason why we wanted to do that is we are one of the few countries in the world that has every other country represented in it, right? So while we are not the world is us. So we wanted to start it off with this global countdown. And then absolutely, we have everyone from, of course, Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, all parts of the country will be activated on July 4th. We have the Essence Festival in New Orleans. We have, again, all these activities happening all around the country. Our goal is to provide kind of this broadcast content of live and recorded content that we could show all over the country of real Americans, real stories. We are doing Our American Story, which is intended to be the largest oral history project in the country. We want to show real Americans, real Main Street activity and their stories. And that's part of the content that we'll be showing. And of course, there will be fireworks. There will be concerts. There will be all the pomp and circumstance that I remember from the bicentennial when I was almost 11 years old. It was a cloudy night in Hayward, California, but those fireworks were never brighter. And so, if I, as a young Californian, can feel like it was my celebration, that's what we want everyone to feel. I say from Guam to Alaska, from Fairbanks to Philadelphia, and everything in between. This is going to be a 4th of July unlike any other. And let's not stop there. The next day is America's Day of Reflection. That could be what people want it to be. For some people, it might be a day of prayer. For example, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they're using Sunday, July 5th as a day of fast. And all proceeds that are saved from the fast will be donated to local food banks. For us, America 250, it's a pivot to the Constitution. People don't realize it was a 12-year journey between the Declaration of Independence to the ratification of the Constitution. The Supreme Court is also part of our commission. Constitution Day on September 17th, a big part of what we need to commemorate. And so this journey continues on. And this is our way of making sure that everyone, especially this next generation, understands what we as a country had to go through in order to have the governance that we have today, in order to be that great country that we are today. That journey never ends. And people ask me all the time, how do you know you're going to be successful in 2026? And there's two things to that. One is I want as many Americans as possible to feel like this is the land of opportunity all over again. I am absolutely living the American dream. My kids are living the American dream. I think everyone should be living the American dream. The other is this. There is no bigger patriot than I am. And I strongly believe that you can still love your country and want it to be more perfect, exactly as our founding fathers envisioned. So that is one of our other goals, is we can still celebrate, we can still have this discourse, we can still have these conversations, but you can still love your country at the same time.
Yeah.
I have a question that I'm going to jump in to ask both of you, actually, Rosie and Adam. This is the question that I need an answer to before 4th of July rolls around. What is more American, a hot dog or apple pie?
This is a good one.
Oh, that is so mean.
I'm not to say you can't have both. You can celebrate with both.
I have half of both. I want half of both.
I got my answer, but Rosie's not going to like it because my favorite hot dog is a Dodger dog, and I suspect Rosie is a Giants fan. So
I used to be a A's fan, but they left me.
They're A's.
So, gosh darn, look, I'm going to be. It's like picking your favorite child. I want half of each. That's what I'm going to say, because I have the biggest sweet tooth out there. So that's a tough one, but there's no reason why we can't have it all, right? That is the American dream. We are going to have it all.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
That's right. I would love to have you talk to my parents one day, Rosie, about 1988, the '88 World Series with Kirk Gibson. But that's a different conversation. I won't rag you on that one right now. I really liked, and just to kind of end it here, I really liked what you said about, you are really the embodiment of the American dream. Can you talk about your childhood growing up, your background growing up in Hayward? Because it really is inspiring. I was reading into it.
Well, thank you. I mean, look, my parents came from Mexico in 1958, and they landed in Hayward, California, because my dad was a seasonal migrant worker at the Hunt's Tomato Factory in Hayward, California. They came here legally. They decided to make that their home. And then 11 years and 9 kids later, my mom decided to leave an abusive relationship. My father went back to Mexico. Look, she could have gone back to Mexico, but she decided to stay in this great country because she knew that we would have much more of an opportunity here. And with the help of our Catholic village, all 9 of us had a great education, and my mom somehow managed to send all 9 of us off to college. So, yes, I went to Harvard. My son went to Harvard. My daughter just finished her 4-year program, getting her doctorate in psychology. So what I felt on July 4th, 1976, I felt an enormous amount of gratitude that my mom invested in us, that my mom made the best decision to raise us in this amazing country, that somehow I get to lead the country's efforts for this, I can say once in a lifetime milestone. I guess for some of us it's twice in a lifetime milestone, but I can't think of a better privilege than this honor of serving my country in this way. And again, being able to serve in 5 administrations, being able to have this bipartisan approach to our country's celebration. And I want to share something very quickly. We are a congressional commission. Even though we represent all 3 branches of government, we are technically bipartisan, but I say all partisan, nonpartisan. But one of my goals when I became chair 3.5 years ago was to create the largest bipartisan bicameral congressional caucus. And we did exactly that. We are, ready for this? We are at 372 members of our congressional caucus, making us the largest in the history of our country. And by the way, 55% Republican, 45% Democrat, and it's happening organically. We are going to get to 400. Clearly, we're going to get to 400. So to have the support that we have from this Congress, to have the support that we have from this administration, from the Supreme Court, and from the American people, this is just the beginning. I think if we all look at this as a huge opportunity to really galvanize our country and take this journey in a way that we've never taken before, and really appreciate what our founding fathers have done, and more importantly, where we want to go from here. That is the whole goal of what America 250 is doing. You will see it's values-based programming. There's no agenda one way or the other. We have been so fortunate to have the partnerships that we have in place, and this is just the beginning. Oh, I wish I can tell you so much more, but there is so much more around the corner. But I want to end by just reminding folks that we have 2 live competitions underway at America250.org. That's America's Field Trip, again, for grades 3 through 12. To answer the question, what does America mean to me? And you get these great experiences to participate in this coming summer that you get to choose from. And then America Startup, which ends on March 31st. These are for undergraduates and for trade schools, by the way. So accredited colleges, universities, and trade schools. Submit your one-page proposal, your 2-minute video pitch online, and then we will tape the finale, the first week of May, we will get those 10 winners who get $25,000 of non-dilutive funding, and maybe you will change the course of history. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
So cool. If you are a school-age child in the United States at age really from grade 3 all the way through undergraduate of college, you can get involved right now at America250.org. Rosie, there's not a whole lot of things that really have great bipartisan support in the United States, but this is certainly one of them. I was looking at the members of the committee. It's both Democratic and Republican leaders that are big on that, and so this is really tremendous. And the passion that you have for this project, it's just brimming through the screen, Rosie. So thank you so much for being with us today. We really do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to celebrating the United States of America here in its 250th year through the America 250 initiatives. Thank you so much, Rosie. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Adam. This is one of the best interviews I ever had, by the way. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I'll come back.
Oh, man.
I'll come back.
From one Californian to another, don't make me blush, Rosie. Oh my goodness! Wow, that's quite an honor coming from you. Really
Next
appreciate.
time, by the way, bring the apple pie and the hot dog.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Rosie. Woo! I don't know how to follow that one up. Clip one. Oh man, that was that's really, really nice of Rosie to say that. So let's go to commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna preview tonight's St. Thomas, North Dakota State game. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. I'm not sure how I'm going to follow up being said the greatest interview that Rosie Rios has ever had, of the former treasurer of the United States of America, but I will try to follow it up. We're going to stick back here in the state of Minnesota. The biggest sporting event happening tonight in the state of Minnesota, the Wild are playing in Colorado. Okay, that's cool. There's other things going on. There's the boys hockey tournament, the girls hockey tournament. All of that's great. You got to go to St. Paul. You got to go to the brand new Lee and Penny Anderson Arena, because in St. Paul tonight, it's all going down. The top two teams in the Summit League, the St. Thomas Tommies and the North Dakota State Bison, the top two seeds in the Summit League, fighting for positioning on the brisk eve of the Summit League tournament beginning next week. And you're probably asking yourself, what does all of this mean, Adam? I don't know what you're talking about. Folks, this is the first year that St. Thomas is an NCAA Division I member. This is their first year in the Summit League. St. Thomas has a chance to go to the NCAA tournament and likely, barring an generational run from the Minnesota Golden Gophers in the Big Ten tournament, likely be the only Minnesota team represented in the Big Dance next month. You probably remember last year, there were no Minnesota teams represented in the NCAA Men's Division I tournament. St. Thomas is a perfect position to do that, and they need to send a message tonight to the North Dakota State Bison, show them who's boss. They cannot improve their positioning, their seeding in this tournament, but what they can do is send a message and avenge a loss that they took from North Dakota State back in January, on January 17th, where they lost by 3. So that set the table for this massive night here going down in St. Paul tonight. And and by the way, if you can't make it to the brand new William Penny Anderson Arena, you can watch the game right here on Fox 9 Plus beginning at 8 o'clock. We're so excited to bring it to you all. Joining me now is the man that's going to call the game tonight for the Tommies. He's the voice of the Tommies, Corbu Status. Corbu, thank you so much for being with us today. We really do appreciate it. And I think Corbu was joining us.
There we go. Sorry, guys.
Yes, we hear you. We hear you, Corbu. Now we see you, Corbu. Thank you so much for being with me today. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much. I tried to set the table there, but let's let you set the table here. What's at stake tonight for both North Dakota State and St. Thomas?
Well, if the Tommies would have taken care of business against Denver, a chance to clinch the Summit League title or at least win or battle for a share. But that's off the table. But still, what is at stake is the number 2 seed. And that's huge because if you get the number 2 seed, then all of a sudden you have a bye in the conference tournament. So you play Thursday, you win, you get Friday off, you get a rest, relax, see your competition, and then you only have to win 2 games in 2 days. So that's where the Tommies sit right now. That's what they're trying to get done tonight. And also, there's a lot of people who think this is a preview of what the tournament championship could be between St. Thomas and North Dakota State. So you also want to go out there and say, hey, yeah, you may have gotten us in Fargo, but we're here. We're not going anywhere, and you better watch out for us in Sioux Falls as well.
I love it. I love it. We're going to get back to that in the Summit League tournament, but let's go back, like you said, to avenge that loss that they took from North Dakota State back in January. Only a loss by 3 on the road. What went wrong for the Tommies that night, and how can they correct those mistakes going into tonight's match?
The turnovers killed the Tommies that day. They were outscored 21-12, I believe, in points off of turnovers, including 10-0 in the second half. And the Tommies are a team that make their living off of points off of turnovers. They don't want to turn the ball over. They're tops in the Summit in terms of not turning the ball over, just under 10 times a ball game. Well, they turned it over 15 times in Fargo, and that's going to kill them. The Tommies will have to take care of the basketball tonight. Obviously, free throw shooting will have to come along with them. They struggled with that against Denver. If they can do those 2 things, then all of a sudden, if they just play Tommy basketball the rest of the way, they're going to be in very good shape.
Yeah. And you talked about the Summit League tournament. Of course, the winner of the Summit League tournament gets an automatic bid into the NCAA Men's Division I tournament. This, of course, is the first year that St. Thomas is in Division I. What would an NCAA tournament berth mean to the University of St. Thomas in your eyes? I know you've been around this program for a number of years now.
Yeah, Adam, I think it would be one of those moments where I don't want to say storybook, but kinda. Yeah. I mean, this is year 5 of the transition, year 1 of being eligible, and volleyball did it. They got a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. What a great moment for them. If basketball can follow in their footsteps, hockey's knocking on the door as well. What a story, right? To go from Division III to being without a conference because you were really good in that conference, to make that jump up 2 levels and prove that you already belong. And even if they don't make the NCAA tournament this year, they have proven that they do belong at this Division I level. But to get an NCAA tournament berth, I mean, that would be huge. Yeah. It would be a story that writes itself almost. And I mean, it would be one that you would have to pay attention to.
No doubt. And I think Minnesotans are thirsty for a hometown team to root for in the NCAA tournament. No representation from the state of Minnesota. Last year, I mentioned it kind of in the intro here. The Gophers, they're going to have to kind of go on a little bit of a generational run through the Big Ten tournament to get to the NCAA tournament. So do you think it's fair to say the Tommies are the most likely team from the state of Minnesota to actually be in the Big Dance in March?
Yeah, I think they've definitely got the best shot right now. Now down the road, if the Gophers do get to where they think they can be, all of a sudden you're in a multi-bid league. What hurts the Tommies right now is that they're in the Summit League, which is a single bid league. But in this very moment, and let's all just live in the moment, right?
Sure.
Let's just all live in this moment right now. Yeah, the Tommies do have the best chance because they're right there. They are, if not the best team, one of the top 2 teams in the Summit League. They have a great shot at winning their conference tournament. So I don't want to jinx anything. It feels a little, I have been in Minnesota long enough to understand that things don't always go right for Minnesota sports teams. So I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, their chances are very good.
Awesome. Who are some players to watch on the Tommies tonight?
Nolan Minnesali is your number 1 guy to look out for, number 4 in white. He is either 1 or 2 in terms of stats leaders for the Tommies in scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, and blocks. So we're talking about a complete player. Nick Janowski, who's a redshirt freshman transferring over from Nebraska, 2nd on the team in scoring. He could be an outsider for Conference Player of the Year, if not Freshman of the Year in the Summit League. He's been outstanding. Carter Bierke can shoot the heck out of the basketball. And then you have everybody else who's coming up around them to form that complete team, right? 5 fingers making a fist for the Tommies. So guys like Ryan Dufault, who's the heart of the team, Ben Osterbahn, who's been outstanding. I could go on, and I think we actually have to step off a game here in about 3 hours. So I don't want to go through the entire roster, but I think if you just pay attention to Nolan Minnesali and Nick Janowski, watch out for number 4, number 23, and then you watch how the rest of the team plays, you're going to fall in love with this Tommy basketball team.
Yeah, and statistically speaking, Nolan Minnesali is one of the top players, not just on the St. Thomas team or in the Summit League, but really nationwide. There's a stat category, and I didn't have the chance before this interview to look up what exactly it is, but I know he's top 5 in some sort of stat category across the nation. So really great player. Marquette High grad too from there in Milwaukee, so a local kid that we can all root for.
Yeah, and we love the Wisconsin kids over here at St. Thomas. We know that the University of Wisconsin loves the Minnesota kids, so we figured it's only right.
Yes.
Let's get some of the Wisconsin kids over here to the Twin Cities. So he's a guy from not too far away. Nick Janowski, also a Wisconsin guy, but a guy like Carter Bierke just down the road from Wayzata. So there's a lot of local flavor going to be out there on the basketball floor tonight.
I love it. The odds makers have the Tommies as a favorite tonight, favored by 3.5 points. Corbu, you know this team better than anybody else. You also know the opponent really well. Give us a prediction for tonight. The Tommies losing by 3, of course, the last time they played NDSU. Where do you see it is tonight?
Ooh, well, of course, you might be able to tell from the shirt that I want the Tommies to win. So let's just say that they win. I'm not going to say by 1 million, but I think if the Tommies go out there and play the way they are capable of, take care of rebounding the basketball, taking care of the basketball, don't turn it over, make their shots. And I think North Dakota State is gettable. They're 5-0 this year in games that have been decided by 2 possessions or less. So you would think maybe they're due for a loss in a close game. So I'm going to say Tommies by 3. It's going to be another tight one that comes down to the finish. But it's going to be a comfortable 3, if that makes sense.
I like it. I also think just from a mental perspective, the importance of beating them tonight, because in all likelihood, you very well may face them again in a week when really all the chips are on the table. And you'd like to have an opponent that you've seen the ball go through the basket, if you will, in terms of beating them. I think from a mental and a psychological standpoint, so huge tonight. So, Corby, we really do appreciate your time. And like I said, if you can't make it down to that beautiful arena they have on St. Thomas's campus, the Lee and Penny Anderson Arena, if you can't make it there, the game is being broadcast right here on Fox 9 Plus at 8 o'clock. Corby Status, the voice of the Tommies. We do appreciate you, Corby. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thanks. That's awesome, and love profiling St. Thomas athletics, and huge game for the Tommies tonight. Like I said, I'm so excited for them, and head coach Johnny Tower and the whole staff there. Really excited for them tonight, and good luck to our Tommies against North Dakota State. All right, we're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to round out today's episode of the afternoon shift. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. We just have a few minutes left with you on this Thursday, February 26th. We actually want to send it out to the windy city of Chicago. We covered this story last week when the Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away, died at the age of 84. Well, today at the Rainbow Push Coalition, which is the organization that Mr. Jackson helped found, right outside Chicago in Kenwood, Illinois. He is lying in repose, and this is we're going to get to Chicago here in a second. Yep, we're gonna no problem. We're gonna get to Chicago here in a second. He's lying in repose throughout the day today at the headquarters of his historic nonprofit. So there's a number of people that have been lining up to view Jesse Jackson. White flowers, a black and white portrait of him is there, as well as the United States flag, the Chicago City flag, and Pan-African flags, all decorating the area near the casket there. So a somber day for sure in Chicago, as people are paying their respects and their tributes to the late Jesse Jackson, and you know, a number of faith leaders have been there. Reverend Al Sharpton was there. Chicago-based Cardinal Blaise Kupich is also there. And Paul, do we have a shot?
I do not have the shot. You know, the shot was there a second ago, and if we'd taken it 30 seconds before, the button that I pressed would have taken us there. But unfortunately, so close to the news, I don't want to mess anything up.
Yep.
Obviously close to the top of the 5 o'clock news, and ask for something to be in a different spot. So unfortunately, I can't bring you out to Chicago there like I had promised you that we could. But that won't be happening. The shot, it's beautiful. The portrait is a striking image there, and you know, definitely an honor reserved for someone who definitely deserves it. And
yeah. Obviously, very symbolic the timing of his passing here during Black History Month, and it was so great to do a number of the Black History Month segments that we were able to bring you on the show throughout the month, and then kind of dovetailed today by talking to Hennepin County Sheriff Dawanna Witt and her background and growing up in South Minneapolis, just a block away from where George Floyd was murdered. Her talking about her relationship with the police when she was a child, and then kind of growing up to now being the top-ranking officer in the entire county. That was really, really, really nice and very touching, and that was a really great segment that we had earlier today.
It was really insightful to hear that.
Yeah.
That, you know, in her life she had such an arc of her relationship with law enforcement. I thought that was really, and I loved her. Well, her line, if you can't, what was it? If
you can't see her, you can't be her.
You can't be her. I thought that just spoke, you know, to the people often question how important is it representation in media and in roles, and you just look at someone like Sheriff Witt and you see that's why it's so important. But I also liked that she said that her kids tell her that it looks like she has no teeth because she doesn't smile very often. So it was nice to get to see that other side of her.
Yeah, we got to see a lot of Sheriff Witt over the last month right here on the afternoon shift. You at home got to see a lot of her as well. She was standing pretty much right next to Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Frey, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, during a number of different press conferences and whatnot. Some of them rather informational, some of them really in the wake of really tragic events like the Renee Good shooting and the Alex Preddy shooting. She was right there, and she talked on the show today about how being present in the community, how being out on the streets is so important and so key for her to doing a good job and really trying to improve relations between the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office and the community, particularly members of the Black community. She sounds like she's doing a really great job at that and showing up when it matters most.
I really appreciated it across the month too, as you profiled those incredible people. But a reminder that it's a living experience that we are currently living. People are making Black history that are with us today, like Sheriff Witt. She is someone who is making Black history, not just in Minnesota, but in America at large as well. You know, so it's really great to get to profile those people. So well done on that, I think.
Oh, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. We had great guests all day today. It really was a really great show, and it's kind of sad that we have to end it here, but we are kind of coming to the tail end of our show today. The 5 o'clock news is starting soon, and when it does, we're going to bring that to you right then. We have a very special edition of the afternoon shift coming for you tomorrow. If you're going to be tuning in, we're calling this the Afternoon Shift Remix. It's going to be the best versions of the Afternoon Shift from all of this week. So the best interviews that we had this week, Sheriff Witt will be in that. America 250 Chair Rosie Rios will be in that, among other conversations that we had. If you were tuning in yesterday, you saw our conversation about AI. That'll be a part of it as well. It really is the best of show that we've got coming for you tomorrow. So maybe you missed a portion of the afternoon shift here and there this week, and you wanted a little recap. Well, you're in luck. We got it for you tomorrow. So please be sure to tune in at 3 o'clock for that very special edition of the afternoon shift.
I keep pressing that button. It's getting so close to Friday. I keep pressing the wrong button.
You're just excited.
That we've got a special edition that we recorded earlier today to play back tomorrow of Headline Hustle.
Yes.
Trivia from the week, from the episodes
That's right.
were. So if you've tuned in all week, you'll know what we're talking about, and hopefully you remember the facts, and it'll help you out in our little weekly trivia roundup.
That's right.
The stories we've covered this week.
That's right. It'll be a competition between Grace Henry, our reigning champion, Lauren Endrigo, who you heard from in today's headlines, giving traffic insights, and myself. So we'll see who wins out of those three. It should be fun. It was good fun doing that earlier today.
Yes, and I can see everyone from the 5 o'clock news team getting into position. I can see Corin out at the Capitol. I can see Kelsey and Simone at the desk. So the 5 o'clock news is going to be with you very shortly. I know that there is a 90-second headline update